Welcome back to the paragraph writing strategy. We've been working hard on detailed sentences now, and we've spent a lot of days with that. This is going to be our describe for the clincher sentences. So with that, thank you for doing the review questions that I had you do at the beginning of this lesson. And now we're going to start talking about clincher sentences. So before this, we've had the paragraph diagram that we've been talking about a lot. And we've talked about topic sentences, so that piece of the puzzle. And then we've talked about detailed sentences here. And now we are finally at that last piece of the puzzle, which is the clincher sentences. Clincher sentences, they are the last sentence in the paragraph, and they close the paragraph, so they conclude it. They are the dessert to the paragraph. So we said the topic sentences were the appetizers, and then the detailed sentences were the meal, and these clincher sentences are going to be the dessert. They are also going to be the final part to our paragraph express that we had. So our engine was our topic sentences. We had our cars that had the detailed sentences, and then the final one is the caboose, which is the clincher sentence, which is the end of the train. And I already talked about that. It's going to name the main idea or the topic of the paragraph. So that's another part of the clincher sentence. It's going to sometimes summarize or name the details of the paragraph. And it needs to be different from the topic sentence. So you want to make sure that you rewrite that topic sentence if you're using that as a model, that you rewrite it so that it is a clincher sentence. Here's an example paragraph. So if you look here, I'll read this to you. Nonviolent protest, which is our topic for this. Nonviolent protest has been a major force in the world. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, Gandhi and his followers used nonviolent protest to gain independence for India from Britain. For the first time in decades, Indians had their own country. In the 1960s, Martin Luther King and his followers used nonviolent protest to gain rights for blacks in America. Through nonviolent protest, they obtained rights that had been denied to them since the slaves had been freed, such as the right to sit anywhere on a bus, eat in any restaurant, and vote in elections. Thus, nonviolent protest has been successfully used by oppressed people to gain independence from other nations. It has also been used to gain personal rights and freedoms. So if you look here, the first sentence is that topic sentence. It talked about nonviolent protest. Then we had lots of details about Gandhi, and then details about Martin Luther King. And then we had a transition word here, which was thus. And this is our clinching paragraph, so our conclusion. Thus, nonviolent protest has been successfully used by oppressed people to gain independence from other nations. It has also been used to gain personal rights and freedoms. So there's our example. And I talked about concluding transitions already in the example. The concluding transitions are words that tell the reader that the paragraph is finished. And some examples of those are to conclude, in conclusion, in summary, in sum, in brief, in short, to sum up, to summarize, thus, therefore, as you can see, as a result, and finally. Those are our lists of concluding transitions. We are going to have 3 different types of transitions sentences again, just like we did with topic sentences. So there's a general clincher sentence. This is and then there'll be a cluing clincher sentence, and I'll go into details on these in a little bit here. And then the specific clincher sentence. So those are the 3 types of clincher sentences that we can use to end a paragraph. So the general clincher sentence needs to summarize the main idea of the paragraph, and it needs to make the reader think more about the topic, so it can make them want to know more information. All right, so here are some examples of general clincher sentences. In summary, these car models are my favorites. To summarize, these are my favorite car models. What are yours? So that would definitely give you more to talk about. In conclusion, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Thus, if a person has approval from others, he may be less happy than if he had his own approval. The final one here to conclude, this woman had many qualities that people should imitate daily. So those are examples of general clincher sentences. And your general clincher sentence is like a springboard for the reader's imagination. So if you look here, we've got the springboard here. As soon as the reader reads it, her mind immediately leaps into new thinking space. Perhaps thinking about her own opinions on the topic or creating some other new ideas. So she's jumping into the water, or he. All right, so then we have cluing clincher sentences. These are going to name the main idea again. They're going to tie the details together with a clue word. So unlike the general clincher sentence, which names the main idea, the cluing clincher sentence ties the details of the sentence, the paragraph, together with a clue word. So if you look here, we have another graphic to help out with this one. The cluing topic sentence and the cluing clincher sentence are similar in that they both utilize a clue word to tie the details together. So if you look here, we've got sticks put together, so they're tied together. We've got different blocks that are all crossed over to each other that are put together. The purpose of the cluing clincher sentence is to give the reader a clue as to how the details in the paragraph are related. This helps the reader understand the paragraph because all the details have been tied together nicely, like both of these examples. So here are some examples of cluing clincher sentences. In sum, these 4 events served as the spark that ignited the war. So 4 events happened that we used in that one. To conclude, life can deal you many cards. It's how you play them that counts. In other words, several issues need to be considered before a person accepts a job offer. In conclusion, plenty of serious reasons exist for staying away from drugs. Ignoring them can endanger one's health and life. So those are examples of clincher sentences. So then we have specific clincher sentences. These are once again going to name the main idea and then name the specific details that were covered in the paragraph in order. So here we have a football team. The specific clincher sentence functions much like a quarterback in a huddle. So here's our quarterback. When the quarterback tells the players a play and the count on which the ball is to be snapped, he doesn't just say it once. If the play is complicated, he might repeat it. Then he always repeats the count on which the ball is to be snapped. Your reader's mind works just like the player's minds. Our minds remember something better if we hear it or read it more than once. If you have a fairly long and complicated paragraph with lots of follow-up sentences, you will help your reader remember the details longer if you name the details in your clincher sentences. This will be the second time your reader will see each detail. Therefore, she will be more likely to remember it. So here are some examples of specific clincher sentences. To conclude, making a snowman involves rolling the parts of his body, stacking the parts, and creating his face and clothes. So she did the 3 details that she talked about, or he. In effect, the people followed a clear course. They wrote a petition, held rallies, demanded a vote, and caused the law to be changed. So this goes into the steps that they did to cause change. And then the last one here, in summary, the environment is in danger because our vehicles of our vehicles are mountains of waste and our lack of attention to nature's need to replenish itself. So this is about the environment, and it gave the 3 details that it talked about for that. All right, so then we have our steps for writing a clincher sentence. And step 1 is to pick a sentence type and a formula, which goes with what we've already been doing before. Then we're going to explore words to fit that clincher sentence. Then we're going to note the words, which means we're going to write them down. And then we're going to search and check. So that means that we're going to make sure that the clincher sentence matches the type of clincher sentence and formula you picked, and then make sure that it's different than the topic sentence. You want to make sure that you check for verbs and subjects like you've done before. And you want to make sure that there's a helping verb with the main verb if it needs to be. And then we have our clincher sentence done. We want to make sure that it has a clue word that ties the details together. And that means we're in the conclusion of this new part of our paragraph writing sentence. We've done the describe step for the clincher sentence. Remember that clincher sentences close the paragraph gracefully. They sum the paragraph for the reader. They make sure that they use a type of clincher sentence that includes the main idea of the paragraph. And we want to make sure that general clincher sentences are springboards for the reader's mind. They make the reader think more about the topic. We want to make sure that specific clincher sentences, that we use specific words in those. And we want to make sure that we use a cluing word in our cluing clincher sentences. All right, so I'm going to close out this video, and thank you for listening.